It is news time on our desk, and we are here again with another exposition. And this one is coming from Victory Voice TV. It almost got to the point of Oseni crying. But before we go ahead, I noticed that you have not been liking our videos, but you like what we are doing. Just give it a like. Click on the like button, share, and subscribe. It's okay by me. All right? Now, Oseni was almost crying, analyzing the debt that Nigeria is to pay. And even, remember, Buhari is going for another 800 million debt before 19 days that he will go. And they are approving it for him. With this rubber stamp we are looking at, the National Assembly is the one that helped Buhari to achieve all. Fulani have duped Nigeria. Please let me allow Oseni to talk. You know he is the voice of Nigerians. He almost cried. Let's hear him out.
No accountability. We talked about the first 800 billion. Supposed to be palliative to cushion the effect of subsidy. Subsidy has been pulled out. What happened to that money? Administration. And that's why we are in debt. And you know what debt does? We all pay for debt. Even the poor you're trying to protect pays for debt. We all pay for debt in inflation. Most of the inflation we have today is occasioned partly by the debt of the federal government, including ways and means. That's a fact you can't deny. And just 19 days to go, he has gone on the debt spree again. And the National Assembly is considering all sorts of recklessness. And that's why, please, Nigerians must stand up. We can't afford to have another rubber stamp National Assembly. Because this rubber stamp National Assembly has destroyed our prospect enough in this night's assembly. They approve anything the president brings in a bid of working with the executive with no accountability. We talked about the first 800 billion. Supposed to be palliative to cushion the effect of subsidy. Subsidy has been pulled out. What happened to that money? Now we want another fresh 800 billion for a social $800 million for a social register that is highly contested, Ayo. Highly contested. I was seeing all sorts of arguments there that we will pay them digitally. Who verifies the social investment register? Is it today people have been committing scam with digital payments? It is even with digital payments that you can commit the easiest scam, because there's a scam called fake alerts. You can generate a lot of fake alerts with digital payments. Is there anybody to verify at the end? So the easiest scam is not even with digital. You can commit the easiest scam in the world, fake alert payments, and you bring the payment out for justification. So who are we deceiving? What we are saying is, you have money like this for welfare. What do you do with it? You improve social outcome. When you check human development indices in Nigeria, the reason why it's low is because Nigeria does not do well on social outcomes. No potable drinking water, no hospitals, no drugs in the hospital, no good education. If you plow that money into improving social outcome, Ayo, if it's just even ensuring that people get adequate medical care in all the federal medical centers, if it's just in ensuring that adults, because by default, as African people, we're predisposed to high blood pressure. If it's just by ensuring that adults over the certain age of 60 in every 774 local government area get access to BP drugs, they can go and collect BP drug for free in the government healthcare center. It will have gone a long way in saving them the cost of money they expend. So when you look at these things critically, these are the things we talk about. Everybody should condemn all sorts of spending this way. It is wrong. We can't keep plunging our country this way. Why are we even having a welfare scheme? If the economy is growing, it will cushion the effects. All we need to do is to make an enabling environment for this economy to grow 10%, double digits. And when you have wealth care scheme, tag them with outcomes. See, we are doing this welfare scheme the wrong way. The people we learned it from, Bolsa Familia in Brazil, they tie theirs to outcome. Before government gives you conditional cash transfer, your child must go to school. They must complete school, because when they complete school, then they can take you out of the poverty line. But we do everything upside down. That's why people look at us as a joke. 320 billion for project. Yes, there are projects on ground that has to be done. As long as it's justifiable, I've got no qualms with that. But you see, the inter-ministerial agency play that make it so easy for these agencies of government to get away with what they get away with is what we should now look at. The problem has always been there's a lack of accountability to a large extent in government. And that's why I was happy recently when the federal government, did sign, at a party talk about the use of blockchain in government affairs. Maybe that will bring some level of accountability. Because we fall short on accountability. And those are the issues we have in this country. That agencies can just run amok, and now you're telling them, oh, there's an oversight you have to return some certain amount of money. It is just because, it is that same reason, Ayo, that makes it so easy for a power minister that just served 2 years to be caught in the 22 billion corruption scandal. We need to do better in government. We need to do better, because these people forget that the decisions they make affect the generations of Nigerians. For every 4-year government, 4-year decision you make, it has a knock-on effect on a generation for the next 30 years. I'm sure you know that some of the decisions President Muhammadu Buhari made in 1983, 40 years ago, is still affecting us till today. When are we going to introspect? When are we going to think deeply about this country?
Well, very well said, Rufai. Going back, first of all, the $800 million loan, which the president is looking to or seeking approval from the Senate. What they said is that they want to pay, as you've mentioned, 5,000 naira to 10.2 million people, and hopefully having a far-reaching effect in terms of reaching at least 60 million people in Nigeria. How are they going to source this 10.2 for 6 months? How are they going to source this 10.2 million people? It will be through the social register, which we have talked about a number of times in terms of how do these names go on there. I don't know how many people know people who are on that register, and what, the monies that have been disbursed to them in the past, if they can demonstrate by showing record. And as you mentioned, how we're going to see that it's the most vulnerable that get this money. I quite align with your take in terms of building infrastructure in place of doling out money. Because there's a reason why you say people are on the dole. It can be quite addictive to be, when you run a welfare system, especially when there are no outcomes attached to it, where people rely on handouts from the government because the government is not doing what it's supposed to do in terms of providing infrastructure to enable people have a great quality of life. That's a challenge. The other thing is that this government is seeking a loan for the next 6 months with only 19 days to go. When you think about that, you begin to wonder, what could they not do in the last 4 years or 8 years that towards the end of the administration, with only a few days to go, they are seeking to borrow even more money? Why not leave it to the next administration to make that decision as to whether they want to go ahead with this loan or incur more loans? Because already the DG of the Budget Office, Mr. Ben Akabueze, has said yesterday during the training of the incoming legislatures that we are almost in a crisis. He's talked about the fact that our debt service ratio is at 100%. That at 30%, you should begin to worry. So we have a revenue problem, which is something that we talk about a lot. So what we should be doing now is not seeking to get more loans. It's to see how we can generate more revenue and make the quality of lives of Nigerians, especially through infrastructural development, better. This government has prided itself on its infrastructural development, the fact that they've been able to build bridges, do this and that. However, when it comes to welfare and amenities, unfortunately, we cannot quite score them high. And you can see the resultant effect on the economy. people are poorer, and this is shown by multidimensional index, 133 million people now multidimensionally poor. When you see the fact that the projects or initiatives that you have embarked on in the administration hasn't produced much fruit, instead we have people, over 100 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty, then you must begin to question these initiatives, this social intervention program, this Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and this welfarist approach to the Nigerian problem. Unfortunately, we don't see to have had such a deep impact. They try to defend it that, a number of people have been lifted out of poverty. But again, the facts are there for us to see. So the recommendation is, or perhaps the thinking is, why now? Why not wait till the next administration comes? We've talked about the fact that the next administration will have the burden, a burden of addressing the economy, and also would possibly have to have their own supplementary budget. And now you want to incur more debt so that they come into a program that was initiated by this administration to continue it. Doesn't seem to be much wisdom in that. And so the $800 million, initially we had talked about the palliatives for the removal of subsidy. Now subsidy has been said not to be removed again, at least until the next administration comes up. So why not give them the burden of the decision to know if they want to go ahead with this loan? Loans upon loans, revenue challenge, debt service ratio very high. We cannot continue like this. We've talked about the fact a number of times that loan in itself is not a bad thing. What you do with it is what the challenge is, and how you are generating revenue as a nation. And comparatively, in Africa and across the world, we're doing really poorly. GDP ratio to debt is very low. It's at about 30% or 15% in Nigeria. In other parts of the countries, about 30 of Africa is about 30%. So in terms of money, we are doing poorly. Another loan, 19 days to go. You may wonder. The second part I was going to actually touch on with the second story on the approval is when Adeswa talked about the fact that the VP presided over the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday. It made me remember that the president is out of the country. And why did he have to extend his stay in the United Kingdom? Because his dentist his specialist has told him that he has to stay 5 days extra for a dental appointment. Then you begin to wonder that, don't we get a bit embarrassed when we have stories like this, when the first citizen of the country has to go abroad to seek dental help? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if there are specialists around the world, or if it was an emergency case because he went for a program and they saw that he needed to stay a bit longer to deal with his health. But you begin to wonder that in 8 years, they couldn't improve the health sector such that we have excellent doctors. Rufai, I wouldn't be surprised if the specialist doctor in the UK that is attending him is Nigerian.
Will be a Nigerian, yes.
So why don't they have the enabling environment in this country to thrive? Why are people going abroad, and why does this administration encourage that by continuously seeking medical attention abroad? The hope is that the next administration will pay very close attention to the health sector, as with education and other aspects of.
I hope you are still with us. You can see things yourself. This is unbelievable. Nigeria is a scam. Nigeria is a scam. I don't know how the next 4 years will be if they refuse to divide this country, because the debt is too much. Who will pay? Even the poorest of the poor will pay part of this debt.